Shalom, shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, all praise, honor, and the glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren that's teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. All right, shalom to the elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there, shalom. I'm the brother Dama Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. All right, and I found this article here from the New York Times. It's titled, "The Forces of Scarcity Hitting Asia May Soon Spread Across the World." And you see, this is a major agenda of these elites, as people are focused on this war. People are focusing on the gas prices, while people are focused on their everyday struggles, the problems of life, people are crashing out over not being able to afford to even live, pay their bills. They're working more, making more money than they ever have, but they're still not getting ahead. They're working all these hours, making all this money, but it's just barely enough to keep their bills paid, even if that. Now with the cost of inflation, with these rising gas prices, the more people look at things, the more they're getting frustrated, the more they're angry. And little do they know that, it's all part of these agenda to squeeze you people. All right. They want you people to be more angry. They want to make your lives more hard. They want to stress you out. They want to make things more unbearable because ultimately they're trying to corral you into this new world order, and this is why that's why the situation with Iran, it's like a roller coaster. 1 minute Trump is saying, oh, yeah, the strait is open. Things are better. You'll see the stock market go up. You'll see the barrels of gas get cheaper. And then the next day, oh, the strait's closed. Oh, they're going to pay. Oh, it's war. Then the next day, we have a ceasefire. We've won the war. They're putting you people on this emotional roller coaster because they want you people constantly bombarded with one event after another. They want to keep you people loaded with distractions. They want you, basically, just overburdened and perplexed, man. One thing after another, so that you people are basically unstable, that you're basically begging for answers. You want things to get better. You want them to fix things. Well, they're going to, the way they're going to eventually fix things is by bringing in universal basic incomes, bringing in digital currencies. You need to get your biometrics up to date. And ultimately they're using Trump to crash this economic system and this world as we know it, so they can bring in this new world order, man. You see, and part of it is by stressing you people out beyond what you can bear. And I remember a lot of these things are being done intentionally, and also a lot of these things are going to lead to bad times here in Babylon the Great, in America, and all over the world, man. And watch, pretty soon over there in Asia and over there in Europe, you're going to start seeing a lot of these people crashing out, and more uproars of the people, more scarcity, more violence. You're going to start seeing people, like it says in 2 Esdras, the 15th and the 16th chapter, and stop having pity on their neighbor because of the lack of bread. And like I said, a lot of these things are being done intentionally because this is the type of world that they need, a chaotic, crazy world, so that they can turn around and bring the order out of it. So let's read some of this article. It says that Asia Pacific was hit hard and quick by the war in Iran and its energy bottlenecks. Scenes of crisis there indicate that problems are multiplying and spreading, which is going to eventually lead to, like I said, 2 Ezra, the 15th and the 16th chapter, which I'm going to read. And it's going to eventually come here to the West. Remember, a lot of that oil and a lot of those goods that's being bottlenecked over there in the Strait of Hormuz are not coming here to America. Pretty soon, as this war continues, and it will continue because these devils are going to use it to as a choke point to bring scarcity, to bring manufactured famine, to bring famine. There's a lot of videos of these farmers, especially here in the West, complaining about fertilizer and not being able to plant this year's crops because, for one, they can't afford the fertilizer; it's getting too expensive, and secondly, a lot of them missed the deadline, to where they, the time frame window to where, they had to plant these crops. A lot of them said it just wasn't even worth it. So that's going to bring what? Famine, man. And it's being done intentionally. You see, look, these elites are orchestrating a lot of this whole Strait of Hormuz bullshit. Is a war happening. Yeah, there's real bombs being dropped. But like I said in the video I just did, it's being controlled on both sides, by these international bankers to a certain extent, and it's gonna bring in, the perfect scenario for these devils to gain total control. So let's check this out. It says, when the war with Iran started on February 28th, Asia expected to see serious gradual impacts from losing access to a huge portion of the world's oil and gas. And remember, all that oil and gas that's being bottlenecked and that's not going into Asia, into those Europe countries, produce a lot of energy. It produce, especially for those Asian countries, over 90% of their production and energy and factories and, production is based off of this oil and gas, and it's not coming in. They're having to ration it. I was reading somewhere the other day, I forget where it was, some Asian countries, they're resorting to, people getting gas based off their license plate number. And that's going to eventually come here. Remember, this is why you got to pay attention to what, this situation is doing over there in Asia and in Europe and how it's impacting those countries that are abroad. Because eventually it's going to come here to the States, and you're going to see the same situation happen here. You're going to start seeing energy lockdowns, restrictions on how much fuel and gas you can get here in America. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to have to put out a rationing system. Pretty soon you're going to have to, you only be able to get gas based on your license plate number, certain amount of days out of the week. They're going to start making you work only 4 days a week, 3 days a week, because it's all a system of control and pretty much a COVID type of lockdown, but this time off of energy, man. See, it says, but the conflict's economic and social impacts have hit the region harder and faster than officials and experts expected. And you see, again, these things are being done intentionally. It's these international bankers, these elites, this war, which is systematically leading to these economic and social impacts of this war, because these devils are orchestrating it. Remember, Klaus Schwab said, prepare for a more angrier world. You see, they want you people pissed off. They want you people angry. And eventually they're going to shut shit off so bad. Well, it's going to lead to 2 Esdras, the 15th chapter, which I'm going to read. It says, many countries across the Asia Pacific are experiencing sudden jolts of disruptions that they are struggling to manage, with some comparing the crisis breakdowns to the scope of the COVID pandemics. You see, and who are going to be the one that's going to suffer the most? The average citizens. Like a lot of those people in Asia that are super rich, that have a lot of money, they're not going to be really impacted by the gas prices and by food shortages, because, they'll eventually have the money to be able to outprice people, or they'll have the money to go and buy what they need. But the average everyday person are going to be the ones that's going to struggle the most from these disruptions and from, price increases and from, the whole impact of this shit. It's going to lead people to pretty soon start getting very desperate. And you know what happened when people get desperate? When people don't have a sandwich or they don't have food, they're going to go find food somewhere, whether it's their next door neighbor, whether it's going to richer neighborhoods, whether it's leading to protests and anarchy and head bashing and all type of things that a person, is going to lead to things that a person who has food on the table wouldn't do. I'm sure you catch my drift, man. It says, even if there is a peace deal soon, the future of this industrious region that has driven global economic growth for decades will likely include months of canceled flights, surging food prices, factory pauses, delayed shipments, and empty shelves for products long considered quick and easy to buy worldwide. Plastic bags, instant noodles, vaccines, syringes, lipsticks, microchips, and sportswear, right? It's going to basically lead to a shortage of things. And what happens when, supply and demand, when there's more of a supply than they have, when there's more of a demand for when they have supply, is higher prices. Only those who have it can get it. And those who don't have it, hey, they're going to eventually start taking it from those that do have it. And it's going to lead to what? Civil war, uproars of the people. Well, I'll get it. It says, collectively, according to many officials and experts, if the war strangling of the commercial traffic through the Middle East lasts for even a few more weeks, which it will, right, every time you hear a ceasefire, just know it's going to be sabotaged. But like I said, that's just more of the psychological operations, more of the mind effing that they're doing upon you people. 1 minute, oh, the strait is open. Oh, the negotiations are going good. Oh, the strait is open. And then they give people some form of a sigh of relief. But then the next day they turn around and they broken the ceasefire. Now the strait is closed. because ultimately they don't want the fucking Strait of Hormuz to open. All right, they're gonna drag it out as long as they can, because remember, they're trying to bring they're trying to bring these disruptions. They want you people to suffer. They want you people angry. They want you people to have to suffer for these things, man, because it's all part of their agenda. It says, collectively, according to many officials and experts, if the war strangling of commercial traffic through the Middle East lasts for even a few more weeks and uncertainty lingers, shortages could push several countries into convulsions of unrest, followed by recession. Countless businesses are verging on insolvency, right, because it's going to shut down a lot of businesses too. You know, like I said, it's going to shut down factories. A lot of people are going to lose jobs. They're going to make less money. They're not going to be able to work. You know, they're not going to be able to provide the basic necessities that they need to live, man. And it's just going to allow all hell to break loose over there in Asia as things get tighter, as scarcity increases, as that strait stays closed. So what the hell you think these elites want to happen? You know, because if they really cared about the people, they would have been came to negotiations would have been went good. They would have been realized that this is causing too much problem. It's straining too many economies. It's bringing too much fuel shortages. The people are going to suffer. Businesses will suffer. Economies will suffer. The citizens will suffer. So maybe we should do what's right, because these elites don't give a goddamn about you citizens or you people. Hey, this is according to them, this is the perfect scenario and the perfect situation to bring in order out of all the chaos this shit is going to bring. It says governments are taking on enormous debt to slow inflation. By year's end, in the most dire projections by the United Nations and others, millions across Asia could be pushed into poverty. And you don't think these devils know that this is exactly what this situation is going to do? Because this is what they want. Remember, Trump was set up to destabilize and to destroy the economic system, the petrodollar, as we know it. To bring in what? To bring in this new world order, to bring in digital currencies, to bring in all of these. This is why he got in bed with these with the technocracy, the Elon Musk, the Palantirs. You know, this is why he's allowing artificial intelligence to go unvetted and unchecked. This is why they're bringing in 6G. You see, because his job was to come in and to collapse this economic system as we know it, man, and to bring in this new digital slavery system. And so they're counting on the millions of people going into poverty. And also, this is going to be used as a depop agenda, man, to get rid of a lot of you useless eaters, as they call you. You see? So they want this shit to continue. They want more poverty. They want more of these destabilizing things to happen, because they want to bring in a new system anyway. It says the impacts are so rapid and deep, said Philip Cornell, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center, who was based in Sri Lanka. Just from a magnitude perspective, this is really very, very, very large. It says resource scarcity tends to unleash dark forces in human psychology and capitalism. Yeah, let me show you what the scriptures say is going to bring. All right, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. Why? They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. You see, and this is what these devils are ultimately trying to orchestrate, and they're doing it with this whole Strait of Hormuz closure. What did it just say? The impacts are so rapid. No, resource scarcity tends to unleash dark forces in human psychology. Yeah, what is that? I just read it. They're gonna they're gonna destroy their neighbors' houses for the lack of bread. And some of these people are going to even have to resort to cannibalism. I remember when Alex Jones said, look, you know what's coming? You know that I'll eat my neighbor. I'm sizing you up. I'll hang you up on a meat hook. My daughters are not going to starve. I'll eat your ass. You know, and I don't want to look at my neighbor like that. But, you know, hey, the way things are going, this is how bad it's going to get. So, hey, the scriptures say the same thing. And like I said, and what these elites are doing with that whole Strait of Hormuz and with this whole economic, intentional economic collapse, they know is going to lead to these dark side psychological mind frames of people. That's going to lead to what? People invading one another, neighbor killing neighbor for the lack of bread. It's going to even eventually lead to cannibalism, man. All right, let's get this in 2nd Esdras 16. This is 2nd Esdras 16 and 18. It says, I'll start at 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. You see? Because that's what this whole economic collapse and this whole bottlenecking of the Strait of Hormuz is going to eventually lead to. Great famine and great death, man. Whether it's death by starvation, whether it's death by a neighbor, invading one another. It says the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, and what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish, as sin as scourges for amendment. You see, because a lot of this stuff is coming as form of judgment from the Most High upon wicked people, man. All right, and the Lord's going to use these elites on the left-hand side to bring in these things. You see, and this is why we've been telling our people, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to repent. You better get yourself right with Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, you better return back to the Lord, man, because He is our only salvation and deliverance from these things which are coming. You see, but you're going to have a lot of our people who are going to learn the hard way, man. Verse 20, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And that's the majority of, especially here, these Americans. You see? Because when we tell them these things about, hey, pay attention to what's happening over there in Asia and in Europe and in those countries as far as this Iranian situation, Iranian and Israel war is happening. Pay attention to the Strait of Hormuz and what that means. But the average person is like, well, that's way the hell over there. Why am I worried about that? I'm way over here in America. Things are still good here. We still got food. I can still go to the grocery store. We're not being affected as they are. We're America. That's never going to come here, because they're under the impression that, this place is untouchable, not knowing that what's happening over there is going to eventually come here. And we've been telling and warning our people ad nauseum that these days are at hand, and now they're coming. You see, but right now, Jake still think, hey, it's all good. Hey, we ain't got no gas lines. We ain't being told to ration fuel. We're not, in these dire situations like they are over there in Asia. So I ain't worried about shit. Hey, party on, so to speak. So these Jakes ain't looking to repent. They're not seeking the Lord, before the evil days come. But that's why a lot of our people are going to try to seek the Lord when it's too damn late. When these things hit over here in America, then Jake is going to want to try to repent. Then they're going to want to say, I just never thought it was going to come here. They're going to be caught they're going to be caught off guard, man. And they're going to have no defense and no protection from Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai in that day. It says, they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. You see? And that's what's coming here, man. That's why I said you got to pay attention to what's happening over there in Asia as far as this war is concerned, because it's going to eventually come here. It says, as the International Monetary Fund has noted, the world economy is slowing nearly everywhere, because roughly a fifth of the world's oil and liquid natural gas, along with vital byproducts, have been held back from the global market since the war started. Even if the Strait of Hormuz stabilizes tomorrow, it could take years for oil and gas output and shipping to reach fat pre-war levels. You see, it says the Asia Pacific has been the war's first and worst zone of impact outside the Middle East. You see, so they're getting hit first, because, they're in closer proximity, and really because they rely heavily on, that natural gas and oil from those regions, like the Asia Pacific. They were like 90% of their economy is based off receiving that oil, on a daily basis, not daily, however often that oil and those natural gas is shipped to their country. Now, places like here in America and other places, China, they'll be the last to be affected by it because they have lots of reserves. They're really rich. So they're not going to be hit as quickly as these other Asian Pacific countries are. But they eventually, it's going to come here, man. It says that Asia Pacific relies more heavily on Middle Eastern imports than almost anywhere else in the world, you see? So this is why they're being impacted so suddenly. And it's going to be bad over there. You're going to be hearing stories about, the uproars of the people and the sedition and what I just read in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. It says massive regional economy is deeply integrated with supply chains crisscrossing borders in ways that are heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Even before the war started in February, Asia's energy capacity was falling short of demand. The backlog for energy generation turbines now affecting global data center growth started with surging power demands from Southeast Asia's industrial hubs. Wealthier countries, including China, face less immediate risk with bigger fuel reserves and budgets, but comfort is neither permanent nor widespread. The rest of Asia, including China, is responsible for as much of the global economy as the United States or Europe, and many countries in their group have been struggling more than is publicly known, right? Because Europe is struggling too. They're on the cusp of these shortages and them suffering as well, because they rely on a lot of natural gas from that parts of the world too. Yep, it says farmers in Vietnam, laborers in India, innkeepers in Sri Lanka, drivers in the Philippines, and executives in Hong Kong and Singapore all sounded more worried than many of the region's politicians, who are seeking to protect a stoic calm that often understates the scramble occurring off screen. Yep, transportation, manufacturing, and upward mobility, three pillars of stability in Asia, are all confronting powerful shockwaves. So what do you think is going to happen when those three pillars are completely dry, and when it runs dry? Complete and utter bedlam and chaos, and like I read, invading one another, people attacking their neighbors with the sword for the lack of bread. Is going to be what? Sedition, uprising against the government. It's going to be complete and utter Mad Max scenarios, man, in these different countries. It's going to eventually come here to America, because this is all a plan of these elites, man, because they're going to use these all of these three pillars of, stability, manufacturing, transportation, and mobility as a way to bring in this new world order. They know it's going to bring calamity and chaos and murder, death, kills, and chaos. And they're going to come with a solution to all of it, which is going to be this new world order, this digital slave system, man. Then it goes into air travel, talking about how there were more canceled flights. 92,000 flights were canceled. Why? Because they have to cancel flights because they don't have the fuel. If you do want to get on the plane, there's only going to be limited flights, but those flights are going to be expensive as hell. I just read another article where I forgot where it was, but it said basically a train ticket to go to like kind of far was $150. Now that shit's $2,000, man. You see, what is that going to do? It's going to strangle people from doing things. It's going to make things more expensive, make things more tight, man. I'm just going into how in Qatar, New Zealand, Lion Air of Indonesia, Vietjet, Air Asia, Air India, and Cathay Pacific are just a few companies cutting services. Yeah, and that's part of this new world order too, is sustainability. They want you people were saying to 15-minute cities. You're not in the future. You're not going to be able to just board a plane and get on a fly across the country at your leisure. Look at this, cutting flights by 35%. And that's going to come here. Yep. Even if the ceasefire holds, because the chokehold that's been triggered by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the flow of fuel is going to be just a trickle. It's massive in the scale of things, unprecedented in the industry. He added, even with the COVID, we weren't gripped to the seats like we are now. Airports and airlines are not the only victims. Remote areas from outback towns in Australia to the craggy foothills of the Himalayas are slipping further into isolation. Travel agencies, hotels, restaurants are also grappling with a sudden collapse in business. Yep, look at this. Airline prices have tripled. You see? We are seeing about an 80 to 90% drop in occupancy. Yeah, halted production. Many of Asia's most successful export industries require enormous amounts of energy and other ingredients from the Middle East. 7 weeks in, stockpiles are running out. Cutbacks in manufacturing are now multiplying, revealing vulnerabilities rarely considered. Copper and nickel production, for example, rely on high heat from natural gas and also sulfur, a fossil fuel byproduct. Both are in short supply, facing several Indonesian nickel processors to reduce output by 10%. See, so this shit is hitting. You see? The strain that we are now under are managing it. The strain we are under now, managing it will become very tough if there is no continuity in gas or fuel supply. So it's going to lead these countries to completely get turned upside down, man. You see? Higher prices, shortages. Look, human suffering. Before the war, the United Nations projected that most of the next decade's growth in the middle class consumers will be in Asia. No, not no more. You see? Look at this. Poverty spread, she noted, threatens to be fused with other problems. Vital medicines and vaccines failing to reach. See, that's why there's going to be pestilences, sicknesses as well. So this shit is going to lead to a huge slew of problems for these countries, man. It says vital medicines and vaccines failing to reach vulnerable populations, schools and universities unable to gather students, and increased pollution from the return of coal burning for electricity. Yep. India, where entire industry clusters have been shut down for weeks by fuel shortages, workers are reversing urbanization, melting back to rural villages to thresh wheat. The cost of acetaminophen and some antibiotics in India has already gone up. Yep. So you can see the issue is going to have, man. And it's just a long video just showing you basically what's happening. You see? Look, at street level, suffering often starts with higher food prices and reduced employment. You're losing income, and at the same time, you're paying more. And what's that going to lead to? Frustration, people being angry. Remember, them not regarding their kings or princes. Sedition. You know, pretty soon a goddamn loaf of bread is going to be $35, man. What do you think? What do you think people are going to be able to do with that? See, but it's just all leading unto prophecy being fulfilled, man. I'm gonna come back here. Let's get this. Oh, spelled it wrong. Yep, and this is Luke chapter 21 and 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity. The sea and waves are roaring, men's heart failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. You see? People are going to be perplexed. I mean, what? A lack of resource, distress, horrified, angry, mad, desperate, vulnerable, you know? And these things are all leading to these are all signs leading to the return of Yahweh Shai, man. You see? And these things are right here on the horizon, and we're going to see a lot of those Asian countries be like that before it comes here to the Americas, man. You know, but hey, this is why we got to do what we need to do as far as Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is concerned. This is Isaiah 65 and 14. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy. Yep, this is Isaiah chapter 65 verse 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord Yahweh shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name. But the point being is that, hey, the true servants of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, his elect, we're going to eat and drink during these times which are coming. You see, this is why the Lord constantly telling us to fret not, nor fear. You know, that it's a time of Jacob's trouble. But hey, the elect, we're going to be saved out of it, man. But as you can see, you see what these devils are doing, man. Look at this. Forces of scarcity hitting Asia may soon spread across the world. And they are going to come here to the Americas because it's all prophesied to happen. And we know these elites and these devils are orchestrating it on the left-hand side. And it's going to come here to America pretty soon. And just know that war ain't stopping no time soon. That strait is not going to be open. And eventually scarcity is going to come here to the West and all over the world because these devils are using it to bring in this NWO, man. So, hey, stay prayed up, man. Stay aware, you know. Keep your head on the swivel because these things are only going to intensify as we get closer to the end of this thing. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And to the next one, Shalom.